she was predisposed to be very fond of him, to love him. And I think it was a real shock for her when he began treating her discourteously after he and Meghan got together. They were beside themselves because Meghan was running roughshod over everybody. And nobody could figure it out. Nobody could figure out why Harry was so, was just folding at every turn. And, that was when I thought, oh my gosh, this whole thing is beginning to unravel.
Developing today, shocking new revelations about exactly how devastated Queen Elizabeth II was about Prince Harry's behaviour towards her and Meghan Markle's appalling actions in the royal family, and the fact that indeed the late Queen's reign, or at least the final days of her reign, and the final days on earth, were significantly impacted by the immature, by the selfish, and by the completely inappropriate behaviour of the grandson that she once supported so thoroughly and his new wife. Now, we're learning much more about this, of course, after the words from beyond the grave were revealed from Lady Elizabeth Anson, the late Queen Elizabeth II's close friend and cousin. They spoke on the phone every week until her death in 2020. And Sally Beddell Smith revealed these really shocking allegations in her Substack. But she's now given a fascinating interview alongside Dickie Arbiter, who was also previously close to the late Queen Elizabeth II, worked as her communications secretary at Buckingham Palace for many years, some of the most fascinating years of the reign when there was lots of tension over Princess Diana. And in this interview, Sally Beddell Smith reveals that Lady Elizabeth Anson had said that the Queen was such a fan of Prince Harry, so it was a big, big shock to her what happened, especially, by the way, given she had given Harry and Meghan these very significant jobs. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
Thing that Liza Anson said to me, and she said, the Queen had been extremely fond of Harry. She was very, very proud of his military service. And she said to me, when the Queen delegates, the star is Harry. So she was predisposed to be very fond of him, to love him. And I think it was a real shock for her when he began treating her discourteously after he and Meghan got together. Nevertheless, she was still, despite all of that, she was still willing to give Meghan and Harry significant roles in the royal family, especially in the Commonwealth, where Meghan's biracial heritage could be a real help. And they really didn't appreciate that. They took on the roles and they didn't do very much with them, as they didn't do very much with anything that was given them to carry out their duties and to serve.
And she really couldn't understand why Prince Harry had changed so significantly, and that this dude who she had supported and backed so much actually ended up hurting her beyond belief in the final days of her reign.
Well, you mentioned Harry in the military. Katie Nicholl talks about her meetings with Lady Elizabeth Anson in Vanity Fair. And she said she couldn't understand how Harry, who had loved his military career and had been devoted to duty, could change the way he did. In this conversation happened in 2020. It's so sad that at her age, having to manage the most amazing reign. It has been sullied. He has hurt her beyond belief. And also, to your point, Sally, back to your notes, Harry went on the radio, I think shortly after Christmas too, and said Meghan didn't really have a close family, or
Yeah.
Meghan had, oh my gosh. And of
I mean,
course her
it was,
family's going to rage.
yeah. And it was so gratuitous. He didn't need to say that. Obviously, they had a lovely time, and she was, she was welcome. That's the thing. You know, Lady Elizabeth's initial reaction, I think the Queen's initial reaction, they thought she would be very good news. I was in this weird position because I was hearing these things from Lady Elizabeth in the run up to the wedding, and then I had to do some commentary on it. Obviously, it was nothing that I was going to speak about because everybody was at the wedding, everybody was in love with Meghan, and in the months after that. It was only in the following fall when I was in England and I was at a dinner party, and there were people there who knew Harry and William very well, and they were beside themselves because Meghan was running roughshod over everybody, and nobody could figure it out. Nobody could figure out why Harry was so was just folding at every turn, and that was when I thought, oh my gosh, this whole thing is beginning to unravel. That was the autumn of 2018. And I think 2 weeks later, the Fab Four broke up and the Royal Foundation broke and, was cut in two. But they were sort of dumbstruck. And these were people who were very discreet, but they couldn't, they said Harry, as one of them said, Harry doesn't know what hit him, but he was totally besotted. And as Liza said, he's not very strong, and she is.
Yeah.
Wow. Angela Levin, our royal mastermind, also Prince Harry's biographer, really wanted to get your reaction to this because, of course, as I've previously said, I think the words of Lady Elizabeth and Son mean a lot in terms of the historic record when it comes to the revolting way that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle left the Queen feeling. And Angela, that's what a lot of people will never forgive.
No, I don't blame them. I agree with everything that's been said. I had a long talk to her at the wedding, actually. She's a marvelous woman, and she was sort of slightly worried about things even then. But yes, it was a sudden change, wasn't it? Sort of after he'd had his wedding and everything that was there, Meghan had got what she wanted, so she could be nagging him and awful, and she wants to kill it. She wants to kill the whole royal family. I think that's the point. She wants to take over. Harry did go into his mother and say that it wasn't right to have Catherine doing that. Meghan would be much better. She knows much more. She's a working woman. She's got herself a good career. And I think after that, he was nagged and nagged and nagged. And I think that he just lost his feeling that he had to behave himself. I mean, the fact that he could have been so dreadful to his grandmother is unbelievable, because she did actually adore him. They loved to do jokes together. They had a very similar way what made them laugh. And she couldn't do that anymore. But one of the things that's just disgusting is that they wanted to have the Archbishop of Canterbury taking the wedding and doing all that, but actually he wasn't supposed to do that in this particular place where they were going to have the wedding. There's lots of places where the Queen decides who does it, and he didn't even tell her. He just chose this, and was very religious, and she doesn't like to be pushed out of the way as if what she wants doesn't have any meaning. And he wanted this particular person to do it, and he couldn't care less what she felt. Now, how can you do that with your grandmother? How can you do that? I mean, it's just beyond possibility, isn't it? And to see how unhappy she is, because you can read it on her face, but he couldn't care less about that. Everything went because Meghan didn't want him to have anything to do with his family. She's a killer. She doesn't like anything that she doesn't want. She tries to destroy. We've seen it so many times already. Friends, people she's employed, everyone. But the thing is, people are very, very scared of her. It's quite interesting that they are still really scared of her. And perhaps, the Queen herself, not to be scared of her, but that it would be so rude to actually say, what are you doing? This is my home and you're going to obey me. I mean, I think she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do it for Harry's sake, and she wouldn't want to blow up the whole thing. But it's just too painful for words, isn't it, actually? When she was so ill. And Prince Philip was so ill. And then she just went on being
disgusting.
thoroughly, yes.
It's disgusting and it is unforgivable. What was interesting too, Angela, is they went back before the wedding and made the point, which I know we've made many times before, but of course it's very interesting hearing it from their point of view, which is that Meghan was just impossible to help. Watch this.
And I've also heard that the Queen was hoping that Sophie could be somewhat of a mentor to Meghan, and Meghan at one point said, "No, I don't need her. I've got Prince Harry," which was, do you? I mean, he's not. You didn't even know like the national anthem and all these in certain protocol, because clearly Prince Harry didn't step up and introduce you to these things or open those doors for you.
Nobody could mentor Meghan. Impossible. She's a law unto herself.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't listen to anybody. You've got to look at the woman. She was an actress in a soap. The soap was coming to an end. She was being written out of it. Hollywood didn't gallop a path to her front door to offer her parts. But hey, Harry came along, and my goodness, this guy's got a title. He's probably got money. She's a lonely woman or a woman alone, and they got married. She was a divorced woman. Why did she get married in a white dress? A divorced woman, why did she wear a veil?
Well, indeed. And Angela, I mean, Dickie Arbiter, he's obviously speaking on his behalf there, but that is absolutely how the late Queen felt. I reported it right at the time when I first broke Tiaragate. She never understood why Meghan wanted to wear a veil. But of course, it feeds into a wider picture, doesn't it? Which is that she just could not be helped. She was never going to listen. She was never going to be mentored. I mean, why would she reject help from Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, for example? Why? But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I know that's a massive oversight, because the neck is on display all the time, yet lots of folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. And I know I'd fallen into that trap. And what's been interesting actually is since starting this campaign with Go Pure, I've spoken to many in our Outspoken audience, many women who tell me that they know the skin on their neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, and they need specialized care, but they just don't know where to get it from. And so I have to say, that is why Go Pure is the answer. It is an absolutely beautiful product. This is the Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. And it's transforming the lives and necks of women, and some men too, all across the globe. So let me tell you about this gorgeous product, because I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks. Oh, and by the way, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure if you use the code DAN, that's D-A-N, at checkout today. So just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. But what's so amazing about Go Pure is that its proprietary firming complex is actually designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It's dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free, plus with over 1 million jars sold. I don't think you can say this is a beauty secret anymore, right? Because it's not a secret, if you get what I'm saying. So, tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck, because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. And for that limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN, D-A-N, at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you are all set. Quick favor too, after you buy, when they ask you where you heard about Go Pure, make sure you tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Because she didn't want to be lower than her in what she knew. She was extremely rude to Camilla, who invited her for dinner, and she just wouldn't listen, she wouldn't speak. She was extremely rude, and I know that very closely. Tried hard to tell her some of the ridiculous things that they want you to do, and then some of the things that don't matter, and then things that don't, she shouldn't want to bother. So she shouldn't have to do lots of things like curtsying here and curtsying there if she didn't want to, to work it out, because she helped Catherine to do that. And William had no idea really how it was, because it was part of his life since he was a small child. So he doesn't know that some things are really astonishing. So it'd be the same for Harry. He didn't know necessarily all the things, but he did tell me that he told her lots and lots of things. He told her nearly every time they met before they got engaged. Before they got married, he told her what is important and what wasn't. He said he spent a lot of time doing it to make it easier for her. Then we hear that she doesn't know anything from him, or he doesn't know anything. I think he probably knew some, but he couldn't actually get it going for somebody who's had that as part of their life for so long. But what happened, I don't know if you've got that on as well, but that the wedding was so upsetting for her because she wouldn't let Lady Elizabeth.
Yeah. No,
anything to do with it.
let's have a watch of this, Angela, and then I'll get you to come in, because this is where she speaks about the Queen's horror during the actual wedding day and preparation.
I hate to say this, but she had a face like a meat axe.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, and that was one of the things that Lady Elizabeth Anson told me, and in several months before the wedding, she said that Harry was rude to his mother for 10 minutes, and she said, and I couldn't figure out quite what she was talking about, but I understand it better now. She said Harry thought his grandmother could do anything. And so he didn't think that it was necessary to follow the protocol and have the Dean of Windsor to ask him, how the officiating should go during the wedding. And he just completely ignored the sort of the protocol that the Dean of Windsor should do it. And he just went straight to the Archbishop of Canterbury. And Liza said to me, she said the Queen was very upset. It may seem not that upsetting to us, but to the Queen, who was the supreme governor of the Church of England, was extremely sensitive to something like that violated the protocol. And it was just one of the many things that really annoyed her about
The Dean of
the way
Windsor at
Harry
the time.
Angela, you go on.
Yeah, she was so upset that Lady Elizabeth said that she shouldn't worry because she can have another wedding with lots of family, because she was very upset there was not many family, cousins and all sorts, aunts, all those sort of people weren't invited. It was people who didn't know them, people who were acting. So she did say to the Queen to help her that Eugenie is getting married in October, and you can have all the family together that will be there. I will do the food for 600 people, and don't you worry about it, and I hope you really enjoy it. And that made the Queen much happier, because that for her was a proper wedding. And she said, it should be, because after all, I'm paying for it, which I think is a rather funny.
Yeah, well, actually, yes, let's look at Sally Beddell Smith talking about this, Angela, because this was actually new information. It had never been revealed before that was how the late Queen viewed Eugenie's wedding, and how it almost helped her get through the hell of Harry and Meghan's wedding. It's like, don't worry, the real wedding, because she was very fond of Eugenie. The real wedding is coming up. Watch this.
She said to me, this was interesting, I didn't write this, but she said to the Queen, don't worry about it. I mean, they're not involving you. They're doing it on their own. But there is a wedding in October, and Eugenie, actually, Liza called her Eugenie, and that's going to be in October. Liza was planning it, working very closely with her, and the Queen was very involved in it. And Liza said, "This is going to be your family wedding." Because one of the things, and it was much more of a family wedding than Harry and Meghan, where they invited people they barely knew.
Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney. Also, do you remember how Meghan announced her pregnancy at that wedding? How rude was that, Sally?
That's right, it was. Yeah, she did that. But the other thing that Liza talked to me about is that Harry and Meghan just disinvited or didn't invite a whole group of cousins, the children of the Prince and Princess Michael of Kent, of the Gloucesters. She just X'd them out. She and Harry just X'd them out of the guest list. And they added all these other random people who barely even knew the royal family. All those people, members of the family, were included in Eugenie's wedding in October. And that was just yet another irritation for the Queen. I remember Liza said, "Don't worry about this wedding. You're not involved." But the Queen said, "But it's my house.
Yeah.
I'm paying for it." But Liza said, "Just concentrate on Royal Ascot and then concentrate on the real family wedding in October." I didn't write that, but she did tell me that.
Well, that's
Yeah,
sweet.
let's not forget Sally. She was also footing the bill.
Yeah, she was. That's what she said. "I'm paying for this wedding," and she was hurt. And Harry did come to her and apologize, and he wrote her a letter because she said, "I don't know how this is being planned." Charles was involved in the music for Harry and Meghan, which was good because he knows a lot about it. But Harry finally wrote her a letter to sort of fill her in on what was happening. But that's not right. She should have known from the very beginning. She certainly knew everything about what was going on with William and Kate's wedding, and she was thrilled with it. So this was, I think, a measure of disrespect that they both showed to her.
I mean, I found that so interesting, Angela, because it's such an insight into how the late Queen thought, the events that were important to her, focus on Royal Ascot, just get through the wedding. And it also shows, Angela, that when we saw the face of the Queen, the late Queen, on Prince Harry and Meghan's wedding day, we weren't reading something into that was incorrect. She was feeling utterly miserable. She was enduring that day.
Yes, you can see how unhappy she was, and she's angry and unhappy, isn't she, in that face? And poor woman. I mean, she was so welcomed. Meghan was so welcomed. They loved her when she first arrived, and I was told by the King that he was very, very happy because she understands if you get divorced, so she will understand all of us. I mean, it was a sort of joke, he said. That's King Charles, he wasn't a king then. And he said that, she's marvellous. She loves music. That's me, and I love music. We're so pleased with her. So she came along putting on a very, very welcoming, happy face, and then sliced them afterwards.
Angela, Dickie Arbiter also spoke about the royal peace talks. Okay, now remember, again, Dickie Arbiter, he knows how this works, okay, because he was the Queen's communications secretary. He knows all of the games that are played between the mainstream media and the royal rota. And he was just absolutely categorical, Angela, categorical that the whole thing was a PR setup. Watch this.
I think the whole thing was a setup. How come there was a photographer in Green Park to take a photograph?
Yeah.
Because they've been told, we're meeting at the Royal Overseas League. We're going to be on the balcony having a drink. It's a nice day. Why not sit outside? And the photograph was taken. I think the whole thing was a setup. I think it was set up to get wheels turning over here within the media, because the media jumped on it immediately and said secret meeting to reconciliation. And that's the way they do things. They don't go straight to the horse's mouth to discuss things, because they can't, because anything they discuss or he discusses with his father immediately gets reported on the American networks and in newspapers. And until his father can trust him, and at the moment he can't, there's not going to be a reconciliation. And as for William, don't hold your breath on that one.
And Angela, look, I mean, I know we have both said the same thing,
We've
but
both said
just
that.
given Dickie Arbiter's position and his experience in terms of dealing with these types of stories, and the fact that he's just prepared to say it so categorically, I thought it was really interesting.
Yes, it's always good to have somebody like that who he was absolutely very, very close to the Queen for a long time and is very dependable. He doesn't exaggerate. So for him to say this is very important. So you and I can actually agree with ourselves and think that it is all a setup.
Yeah, exactly. It was all a setup. We were right. We were totally right on this one, indeed.
Yes.
Angela, I just want to get your quick reaction to this story about Princess Anne and the fact that the man who attacked her, and I mean, very nearly killed her, Angela. I mean, it was such a shocking story back in 1974, is now, according to the Daily Mail, back on the streets and still obsessed. Now, this is according to the Mail's reporting, this is Ian Ball. He was 26 at the time. He stalked the Princess Royal one evening in March 1974 before ambushing her chauffeur-driven limousine and shooting 4 men who came to her aid. Now, appearing at the Old Bailey, he was detained without limit of time under the Mental Health Act after admitting attempted kidnap and 2 attempts of murder. But the Daily Mail say that they can reveal he is now out of Broadmoor and is now campaigning to clear his name. He has been released from probation and can roam freely despite remaining fixated on that night on the Mall. After being quietly released in 2019, Ball self-published a disturbing book about the events of 1974 and visits old haunts in a bid to prove his innocence despite having pleaded guilty in court. And now, Angela, in an extraordinary interview with the Daily Mail, he said, "I'm an innocent, sane man because I had good reason to believe the gunpowder had been taken out of the bullets and another girl had been substituted for Princess Anne." He claims he was wrongfully jailed by the upper classes, speculating that the late Queen was the ringleader and saying they had kept an innocent, sane man in a criminal lunatic asylum because he is a very dangerous working class dissenter and a grave threat to the luxurious way of living that the royal family experienced. Angela, will Princess Anne be worried about this revelation?
No, she's a real toughie, isn't she? And when he opened their car and tried to pull her out, she said, come with me, come with me. And she said, no, bloody likely. And she fought him off. So, I mean, she is older, but I think that actually she would need more people to sort of make sure that she's safe. Because, I mean, he doesn't actually sound very stable, does he? I mean, it's just... and he's also doing a self-published book about it as well, of all the events of 1974 to prove his innocence despite having pleaded guilty in court. Now, that would worry me as well. That would be really difficult. But she's very strong-minded, and I think she's somebody who just pushes it out of her mind. But I think the people around her will be more cautious, and her husband will be very cautious. He looks after her very nicely, and her children will be very cautious because they think she's a terrific mother, and they will do anything they can for her. And she's very happy now. Her son's getting married to a nurse. So she's in good spirits, but I think you need to be careful about somebody who is let out of prison without actually being 100% sure that they are well.
Yes, and Angela, it is worth just quickly mentioning Peter Phillips, isn't it? I mean, I broke the story actually at the time when he was divorcing, and it was the first of the late Queen Elizabeth II's grandchildren to divorce, and she was very sad about it. But this engagement has been announced to this woman here, and you're very happy about it.
Well, it's not for me to be very happy, but I always like romance and people getting married and all that. But I think he's a bit of a woman's lady, isn't he? He's a sort of running around women and
Well,
stuff
hopefully
like.
not now, because she's, as you
No, I
say, she
hope
seems
not.
to be a very good woman, doesn't she? So she's actually an
Yeah.
NHS nurse.
Yes, she is. And she looks after very ill children. So she's got a very good heart, because you have to have that for that. But he's been a bit of a rascal, but we won't go any further. will we?
Yeah, congratulations to them. Angela Levin, our Royal Mastermind, Prince Harry's biographer, Queen Camilla's biographer. So brilliant to have you, Angela. Thank you. And of course, if you do want first access to our Royal Uncancelled After Show, every single weekday, all you need to do is sign up to my Substack. The address is on screen there, www.outspoken.live. Now, if you go for the monthly paid membership, you get first access either live or on demand to that Royal Uncancelled After Show Monday to Friday with no advertising whatsoever, which a lot of you tell me you really want. No ads. You can watch it all, usually about an hour long, every single weekday. www.outspoken.live is the address. The other really important thing for me is that Substack is a free speech platform. It protects me from lawfare, and it's a really great way to support this new independent media venture. www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.